Just do an edge search from the road.
I'm going for game. I'm gonna go bear hug that big mother trucker. I'm gonna wrestle him to the ground and be like, what's your deal?
You all got excited for what now?
I know.
Do you want us to bring you a decoration for your tree the next time we come?
Hello and welcome to this Burlington, Wisconsin roundtable panel about our first episode of C.A.P.S, the Cryptids, Anomalies, and Paranormal Society. Today we have some of the investigators here that were working on that project with us. Unfortunately, Michael could not be here with us today. He had family plans already this weekend. So we'd like to go ahead and tell you a little bit about our team to begin with. C.A.P.S, the Cryptids, Anomalies, and Paranormal Society, was founded by myself about a month ago, and my main goal with this group is to look at the connections between different paranormal sites, anomalies, UFOs, cryptids, and see if there's any connection between all of them and why certain places are hotspots for not just one event or occurrence, but multiple events, such as the location in Burlington, Wisconsin. You don't just have UFO encounters, you don't have Bigfoot encounters, you have all of these things in one location. So the goal of my group here is to bring different researchers and people of different backgrounds in to try and work on all aspects of these anomalies and creatures and entities and figure out why certain areas happen to draw all of them together. So, leading our group here, I would like everyone just to go down the line, and they're going to introduce themselves to you and tell you a little bit about their background, where they've come from, how they came to be on the team, and stuff like that, what they do for the team. So, go ahead.
I'm Ma, and I do research on locations, and I pretty much find the place, take care of history and geography, if there's any kind of sightings in there or activity from before, and just kind of make a story, and then we go on from there to prove or disprove. That's what I do.
Okay, I'll start. I'm Ethan. I grew up in Richland County, Wisconsin, which is in the southwestern part of the state, very rural. I grew up in a hunting family, so I'm very familiar with the outdoors, the animals that are in the state, and I believe it helps me establish what can be the more explainable things that may be odd to someone who isn't familiar with being in the woods as much as someone from my background would be.
Okay, my name is Derek. I'm the paranormal investigator of the group. The history, what I do, I've been doing this for a little over 10 years. And I had plenty of experience. It's been overwhelming and fun. And I've been friends with the founder for over 15 years. And his mom too.
I'm Barnaby. I've been going to zoos and researching animals and cryptozoology for pretty much my whole life. I'm into a lot of the animal stuff and nature side of that. I've done paranormal investigations in the past as well, and now we're kind of just bringing this all full circle into all this together. So that's a little bit about each of us here today. And we will be bringing in other people on our team. There's actually 8 of us currently. And this is just the panel of the people that were working on this particular episode and the investigation site. So we'll get into more on that later. So now we'd like to talk a little bit about things that you didn't see in the episode. Some stuff that either just wasn't available to be caught on camera, or personal experiences, or stuff that we couldn't prove without doubt to you guys watching that it actually occurred. So all of us had our own personal experiences and stuff, and you know how we felt in there and that. So we'd like to talk a little bit about stuff like that. So go ahead.
Okay. There was a lot of areas in the woods that just like disorient you, where you just feel off balance or just not quite sure what's going on in there. And not only in the woods, but outside the woods. The one night I spent in the parking lot while they were in the woods, and there was lights across the way and the cattails, and you know, I don't know what it was. It came and it went. It wasn't a reflection as far as I could tell, but I really don't know what it was. There's just sounds in there. There's a lot of different things going on. But you know, nothing you can prove and nothing I can show you. That's it.
For me, what stood out was on the second nighttime investigation when we were at the rock mound. The entire time we were in that part of the woods, I felt uneasy for no explainable reason, and that didn't let up till we left that area.
Okay. Well, during our daytime one, before we went on the tour with Mary Sutherland, we went by the shaman circle, and I inexplicably folded my hands with my thumbs under my chin and my fingers pointing to heaven, and we're talking to whatever was there, and I started getting choked up. I had to back away from him, from my buddy over here to my left, and just collect myself. I was happy going into the woods, and when I came to the shaman circle, it was a totally different story for me. I started getting choked up, and I had an overwhelming sadness, which I didn't know how it happened or why it happened. I still can't prove that how that happened or why it happened. And there was other sounds too, like stuff getting thrown at us, which we can see. And those drum beats. Totally different story.
A lot of the feeling and stuff in there, you know, you feel like something's watching you, or you hear things that may not have been caught on camera. The energy in there, I mean, in the episode and stuff, you don't really get a good idea, and we don't really explain too well of the EMF fields in that. But when you're walking through there, the night that we did the investigation with Mary, there was provably a lot more energy in that area. You could go through during the day and on the other investigations that we had, and you would get a light green on the meter. And the whole time we were in there with Mary, with the group of 16, we had a solid yellow, which is 3 levels up on the meter from the baseline of what normally happens. So we can prove that there's, you know, if you take one of these meters out on the street and you just walk down the regular road, it's going to be green. But in the woods, you have yellow. And that's a lot higher energy in this whole area than what you have anywhere else. I mean, that's why we're in there trying to prove what's going on, because there's energy there for something. So any other odd experiences or anything that we've had in there?
The main other one that stood out is probably when we were getting ready to leave after the Sutherland tour with the more unexplained light in the sky. That
Yes.
wasn't a plane based on its movements.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't a helicopter because of that distance. You would have heard rotors.
I didn't see any strobes on that airplane wing, any wings or strobe lights on either side blinking.
Yeah. In the what is it called? The section of the video. It's the Close Encounters segment of the video where we show the UFO up in the sky. That's filmed off of our GoPro in the parking lot. We didn't have any other equipment running at the time, and coming from across from the woods up along the power line route, you can see a light that kind of goes like this through the sky. It wasn't flying in a straight line, and from being out in the woods for, you know, several weekends, day, night, everything, you hear trains go by, you hear trucks go by, and you hear airplanes. You hear helicopters go over there because there's a airfield right down the road from us. But when this light was moving through the sky, there was no sound at all.
I also live right next to an airport, so I'm very familiar with all the lighting and the sounds of single prop, dual prop, helicopter, jet engine. I'm very familiar with all of it, and it didn't fit that at all.
Mm-hmm. I would like to also put out on that segment of the video, if you see the 3 lights down on the lower side of the camera, that is actually a reflection of the tail lights of a car on my front
Bumper and
front
headlight.
bumper. Yeah, so that's not a 3 triangular UFO down there. We're actually looking at the 1 white light that's right up in the sky.
Oh, another thing that I was gonna bring up about what wasn't on camera is your car alarm going off,
Yeah.
which we can't explain that or we can't prove what caused it to triggered.
You don't have one?
Mine doesn't.
Oh, that's right. My car isn't. It's not yours, Brian?
Could be. Is it mine?
Yeah. So what we're
We tried
talking about.
everything too. We tried like jimming the doors, you doing your back trunk.
Yep. So what we're talking about is the first day investigation that we went in with Michael, his wife, and the first time with my mom and me. We were down on where the log crack area, or the branch crack area on that trail, and we heard a car alarm go off in the parking lot, and there was only 2 cars out there, mine and Michael's at the time. And then the last day investigation that we were down there with Mary, we got up by the Shaman Circle and the Rock Mounds and stuff like that, and my car alarm was going off in the parking lot, and you guys went and checked that. And that was, I mean, we tried to prove everything as far as like if I set it off in my pocket, it doesn't make the same sound. If you try and break into it, we could not set off the car alarm. We tried prying open my car with a screwdriver. We've tried outside of the area. I gave my key fob to one of my coworkers up by the building, and I was about over 1,000 feet away, about the same distance as we were in the woods, and he held onto the key fob because I thought maybe it would interact and not go off because I was close by, and we still couldn't. I beat on it. I beat on the hood of the car. I pried on the windows and stuff, and I could not set my car alarm off. So I know it has a car alarm. It has gone off before. Actually, the investigation where we were coming out of the woods, where you talk about the orb across in the marsh, when my mom opens the back door to get out of the car, she actually set off the car alarm because it was locked at the.
Turns up.
Really?
Done that when the aliens were watching me.
You stay in there.
Time. So we know that it's possible to set it off and that it's loud, and it was my car alarm, but we have no explanation as to what set off my car alarm during either of those. And I would assume that it was the same car alarm both times because there's no other cars around in that
Well,
area.
it was your car the second time because the lights flashing.
Yeah.
But it was a quieter tone to it.
Mm-hmm. So
I'm still puzzled.
could possibly be energy in the area, or something like that triggers it. So is there anything else like that we want to talk about, like the car alarm or anything like that hasn't been brought up either on the episode or anything?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. After Mary Sutherland left us the night in the parking lot, we stayed out there. We didn't have walkies on us, so we didn't want to go back into the woods that night. We stayed in the parking lot for probably a good hour and a half, listening to stuff, and we tried a couple Bigfoot howls, and we tried some wood knocking too in the parking lot. because we could hear some stuff off in the distance, and we were just trying to get a response. And at one point, it's not on the episode because it's kind of over talked over kind of and stuff. But we got a really weird Bigfoot howl from up over on the by the ridge up there, kind of the same area where other sightings and stuff have happened. And it was not a dog howl, it was not a coyote. It was more of a moaning howl. And I tried to recreate that sound as best I could, and we did not get an answer back on that one. I don't know.
I heard that.
All right, so looking back at this whole thing, we were there for about a month. We started at the end of July working on this project, and we wrapped up it was the last weekend of August that we were down there last. We made about 4 trips down there, and we covered a lot of stuff, but there's still a lot of stuff that like could be done. So I mean, like going around the table here, I mean, what do you think that we could still possibly do down in there? Ethan?
Personally, I would like to see late fall, winter, because you can see farther without the leaves on the trees, obviously. It's easier to track in snow. And I would also like to see more cameras in use at one time.
I agree.
That was pretty much what I was going to say. And I'd rather do it without mosquitoes.
Yes.
And I like daytime better, but, you know, like an early morning, I think would be kind of neat to get sunrise instead of sunset. I don't know if I don't think you had any part of that on there with Mary talking about how the time changes in the woods, that you should either go before dusk or after darkness comes, not at the transition time, because time changes in the woods and it gets different in there, and definitely the energy changes after that time. So
I'll have to agree with the early morning because, for instance, let's say you go turkey or deer hunting. You usually leave very early in the morning when it's dark because the animals like to move at that dawn hour where it's not quite dark but it's not quite daylight, because that's a safe time to move.
they're getting up and they're hungry.
Yes.
I agree with that. Along those same lines, we're going to throw this out to another creature in the area, which is the Beast of Bray Road. And also not on the episode, but every time that we were there, we did take a long drive all the way down the entire length of Bray Road with the dash cam running and stuff to see if we got anything crossing the road and stuff. And we didn't have any activity any of the times that we were there.
Except the deer and the coyote.
Yep, we saw deer, coyote, possums, that kind of stuff. But a lot of the reports of Dogman and Bray Road all happen in the fall.
And one thing I'll add here, because I was thinking about that, the times when you're seeing that is usually deer hunting season. When you have, especially in Wisconsin, hundreds, if not thousands of people in any one county out in the woods, agitating the ecosystem.
Exactly.
Which is when you're going to have movement from everything. So I think that is a very good time to go. Granted, we'll have to take the adequate safety precautions, blaze orange, all that.
Definitely.
Probably talk to the people in the area, ask them where they're hunting so we don't disturb their practice, because that's the easiest way to make enemies in this part of the state.
Yeah, definitely if we see cars or something around in the area. So, another thing is, I would like to try and head up when you go straight in. You end up going over that little bridge, and then down that first trail is where we had the branch cracks and stuff. That big branch crack that we had was on the other side of the marsh. Now, if we could send in 2 separate teams, one team up in that area with the ridge where we had all of the thermal hits and heard the branches cracking and stuff like that, and then at the same time send another team up into the woods on the other side of that marsh where the large branch cracked, then you could triangulate between Team 1 and Team 2 as to what you're hearing on either side of that. And even I would just like to go back there and try and find that branch. I mean, based on, you can pull out your phone and GPS, look at where you are on the map and stuff, and we can pretty much figure out, send Team A in where the tree was and figure out where on the GPS that is. And then the other team can kind of go a little bit east of that, would probably be where that branch had cracked, and try and find that branch at least, because it doesn't sound like much on the video, but it was loud enough that we all heard it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big branch. I mean, it had to have been, to make that loud of a crash across the marsh there, because that was at least 500 feet away on the other side of that. So it's up in the woods there, at least. So.
And that's not provable either, or what caused it.
Correct.
So, yeah.
But to that effect, I mean, we were in there at all hours of the day for hours and hours at a time. I mean, some days we were there for like 7 hours, and there was no other big branches cracking like that. So something, and it's not even just the branch crack, it's that we had those weird whistles of something communicating from our side of the marsh and the ridge area to the other side. And then you hear the something coming through the woods, the branches cracking on the ground of something walking. And then all of a sudden you have the creature on the other side.
And another good thing to mention here is, yes, it's public land that is fully accessible to the public, but it is not extremely popular.
No.
There was only, one time we came across another person in there, and that was a guy metal detecting.
Mm-hmm. And for the record, when we got the thermal hits, the night investigations, we left my mom and, in some cases, my mom and somebody else out in the car that would watch the parking lot and just kind of keep control of, if anybody came by and, wondering what we were doing or anything like that. And, she had her own encounters and stuff in the parking lot even, keep track of, if a UFO goes over like the power line area and stuff like that. So we kind of had more than one area covered in that. But I mean, it's public property. It's a park, but it is dangerous. I mean, there's steep inclines and stuff in there on the trails themselves.
Yeah, and the steps are slippery, as
Yeah.
I well know.
There's loose rocks and branches and stuff along the trails and stuff, and if you don't want to go in there at night and slip and fall and get hurt or something.
There's also snakes and lizards in there.
Yeah.
And other creatures.
Yeah. So, and we did find footprints of a large canine. I don't think that's on the video, actually. Our investigation back over on the shamanic side of the forest. There's two sides of the forest. There's the first side by the one parking lot. That's where we had all the fairy trees in there, and the Bigfoot encounters and stuff was all on that side. Then there's a ridge that is supposed to be an effigy mound of a snake that curls there. And when you walk along the ridge of that, you have the power lines there that we walk under, where we stop and discuss the growl, and where we actually heard the growl and stuff. And then you go into the shamanic woods that has the guardian tree, where we all stopped and paid tribute. And then you have the stacked stones and the burial site of the king or the chief or red-haired giant, whatever was there. And then once you get past that is the shamanic circle and the shaman area.
But the pictures, I don't know.
Yeah, you want to talk about Mary's pictures?
I actually found the pictures really interesting, as skeptical as I am, because she was showing them as she took them, so obviously there was no editing. A lot of the effects can't be explained with regular photography tricks, especially with the way some parts of the image are blurry and the rest of it's completely clear.
But what about RK too? Like had like a trail.
Well, that's like we said. The picture is perfectly clear in focus, and the light literally dots out. If you watch where Mary says that there's something weird in this area, she starts taking pictures, and she turns around and takes a picture of us, and then it shows me, my mom, and Derek, and both of our K2 meters, the little dot on the meter trails up into the picture, and that would indicate like not even a motion blur, because if you're shifting the camera when you're taking it, you're going to get a blur, not individual lights.
And it would be the whole image, not just the light.
You know, all parts of the image are fine except for that one little.
And some of the stuff around the fire and stuff too. The fact that the firelight is above us in the picture. If you want to see any of these pictures too, you can go to Mary Sutherland's Haunted Wood page or her website, burlingtonnews.net, and she posts all these pictures and so many more. And you can go see them for yourself. She gave us permission to share them with you guys, and so we
What about the
included
picture of
them in
him
the
being a double?
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Even though that was shown on the video, but still, it's just interesting how that looked.
Again, like a picture like, you know, with yours where you're here pretty solid, but then you have the etheric image of you next to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite possibly, I mean, for the people out there that want to tear this apart, I mean, I'm not, like I said in the beginning, I'm more cryptozoology. I like the physical animals and stuff like that. You know, Derek's more the paranormal and that stuff. But for somebody like me that comes in as a skeptic that says, you know, oh, this picture could be faked. You know, you look at a lot of these, and for yours in particular, you have you, solid picture of you, and then a copy of you. Now, you could probably pretty easy, anybody that knows Photoshop or stuff like that could do that. But there's no way that you can take a picture and then physically show it to us right there.
Exactly.
And get that. And that's what she was doing there. I mean, this isn't Photoshop. This wasn't something that she took home and posted online. She took this picture, she turned around and showed it to us.
Yep, she showed it to us right after it was taken, so there was no chance for manipulation.
Yeah.
If there is a way to do that, I'd like to know it, just because it'd be fun for cinematography and photography.
And even so, like, let's say that it is a setting on the camera. There are so many variations of that. Like, none of the rest of us have a duplicate of ourselves there.
No.
You know, mine has the red light of my headlamp that trails up to the sky, and then I have a white blur next to me. That's not a duplicate image. So if you're using some sort of filter on the camera or something, you're getting two totally different effects between all of our images and stuff like that.
What about the people disappearing on film, though, too? When she's taking them as they're coming down from the fairy tree.
Mm-hmm.
It's also worth noting that the camera she was using is what I believe to be a mid-2000s early digital camera, so it's not a expensive fancy camera. It's
Correct.
Literally probably the second, third generation of digital camera you could buy, you know, in the early 2000s.
So you don't have the amount of settings that now modern day cameras, you know, like you pull out your phone, you have a filter that puts a dog face on you. This camera was put out way before any of that happened.
Exactly.
You don't have that ability.
You know, compared to even our phones, this camera would have had virtually no settings besides turn on and take picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's that basic.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think nothing was tampered with. It doesn't look like it to me.
Mm. No, they were definitely interesting.
And she was also talking about the jinns by the campfire.
Mm-hmm.
That was not mentioned on the video either.
Correct. There's a lot of other entities. I mean, we're not going to get into Mary's tour. If you're interested in taking the tour, I specifically left out a lot of her stories and stuff. That's her tour. If you're interested in learning more about the woods and stuff, you can go to burlingtonnews.net and check out her tours and talk to Mary Sutherland yourself. Go on the tours, hear her stories firsthand, get your picture taken. She's out there the next couple months, all the way through October. I know she has tours and stuff. I recommend going out there with her. It was a good time. There was a lot of energy, very open, answer questions and stuff like that with her.
Even if you're the kind of person who this is just entertainment, you don't believe in it at all, I would still even recommend her tours just because as a standalone event, it's a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
It's enjoyable to do. You get to spend a night out, and she's a nice person. Her husband's very nice.
She's very nice, yes.
It is well worth the $40.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
But yeah, like he was saying, there's a lot of other things in there. There's she talks about like she saw a troll one day crossing the bridge there and saw the footprints on the bridge, got pictures of them. She on our video I posted the her encounter with Bigfoot where he came off the ridge there and charged her. So she talks about that. She talks about her UFO encounters out there. She has a lot of other stories in that she shares too, and other entities and creatures that inhabit those woods that we didn't cover because we just didn't have enough proof or video or audio evidence of something being there.
Or even enough time just to go through
Yeah.
all the reported occurrences.
We originally walked in there to see what was there. We didn't go in there hunting Bigfoot. We didn't go in there to have conversations with fairies. We didn't go in there to get pictures of fairies. We walked in there to say, what's in here?
Exactly.
And things just started happening. I have not been in that woods once where something weird didn't happen. I mean, it was, if you're open to that stuff and you walk through looking for stuff, I mean, you'll find stuff. So, stuff that like we were talking about, stuff that we still wanted to do there though. There's the whole other side. The first day that we were there, we kind of rushed through the other side. We didn't get too much weird stuff on that side past the shamanic circle. But you actually heard a cat.
Yeah, there was like a cat growl, like a mountain lion down, because where we walk is top of a hill, and then it just kind of trails down. I don't know what's down there. It's just marsh.
It goes down to the marsh.
Yeah, and it was down the hill. I was walking ahead of everybody else, and it was just like a cat growl, because I had heard the other growls up on the other side, which we assumed were like Bigfoot growls. They were deeper, but this was just more like a cat, whatever.
Yeah, and we all did stop and investigate it. We got out the FLIR, scanned the area, but there was no heat signature of nothing down there, and
Yeah.
we didn't hear it again, so we moved on. I mean, like I said, a lot of the stuff we didn't have on camera or any proof of, so, but there shouldn't be any big cats down that area, I don't think.
They're pretty rare in Wisconsin. The populations aren't high.
Mhm.
There are pretty standard sightings every year, but they're very uncommon.
Well, we can talk about that too. I mean, like, one of the creatures that's a cryptid is the black panther, jaguar, cougar.
Which my dad has an experience with.
Mm-hmm. And these creatures are not supposed to exist. You're not supposed to have a black cougar. You're not supposed to have a black panther or any of this stuff. Yet people have pictures of them on trail cams. They have personal experiences with these large black cats. Not a house cat. I mean, these things are 4 feet long, big, thick tails. And there's over by Baraboo is Wildcat Mountain, and there's supposed to be just tons of reports of this creature there. And I had somebody come to me with personal experience of this area and told us to investigate. And the problem with this is when you're going into these woods, you're looking for things that may or may not exist. Bigfoot, fairies and stuff like that. Bigfoot is not known to attack a person. Not on the most part. He's very gentle, very docile, curious at the most, unless you incur on his area. If we're going out hunting panthers, that's a totally different thing. I mean, I don't know. But when you're looking at this as a whole picture, as to say that the Burlington Woods is a hotspot for everything, who's to say that this black cat isn't in there?
Exactly.
When you loop that thing into the rest of the cryptozoology and the UFOs, the paranormal, and all that stuff, if you're claiming that all this stuff is in that woods, there's 100% chance that black cat could be one of the things that's roaming around in these woods, and we could have had that experience and just not seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing. But we didn't see any big cat footprints.
No, nothing like that.
Yeah, the first night that we were out there, it rained pretty heavily. I mean, you can hear it on the camera, the water going through the leaves and stuff like that. And we found a lot of footprints, like the humanoid bare feet. granted, you could have people walking through these woods in bare feet, and these things are not, 17 inches long like a Bigfoot or something, but way back on that wood trail, or the low ridge trail by the branch crack area, we found that one footprint way back in there in the mud. Now, why would you be way back in there? I mean, it was an adventure for us to get back that far. I mean, it was a trail, but it was muddy and it was overgrown and stuff. And if you're in bare feet, for one, why would you be going back there?
Yep, because most people aren't going to be barefoot in that terrain because, one, their feet aren't used to it, it's going to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're someone who's barefoot in the wilderness a lot, you wouldn't make it back that far without pain.
Mm-hmm. And right after that, that trail pretty much just got swallowed by the swamp. I mean, my feet, my steel-toed boots are up to the laces in the mud. So it was mucky enough back then. And granted, it did just rain. But it was mucky enough that I didn't think I could make it farther in there without sinking up to my ankles in the marsh.
The day in the rain, there was a lot of nuts on that trail. I don't know why you would want to walk barefoot on all the acorns and just the other nuts and sticks and stuff that were in there. I don't see anybody walking barefoot in there.
Another thing is, what about that mushroom that we saw that had a big humongous bite taken out of it?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't look like an animal bite itself. It looked like something bigger took a bite and just left it there.
It was a series of bites.
Like it looked like something took a bite of it and just left it there for it to be discovered.
Mm-hmm. Up in the area between where the tree moved on our first night out there, we went back all the way in that woods to see where that ended up going. And it actually goes back probably, I don't know, 150 feet of woods. And then you hit the field.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds about
Can't
right.
see one end or the other.
Yeah.
But
And
you
it
see
goes
daylight,
up a
but
little
you can't
ridge
see.
too. But whatever was back there, you could follow the footprints up towards this farmer's field, and it led us up to this area. There was a large, probably about that big mushroom, like shelf mushrooms, growing on the side of a tree, and there was 2 or 3 of them.
There's 2 or 3, but not as big as that bottom one. Right?
They're stacked. There was one underneath, and then there was one, and I don't remember if there was one on top.
The one
of
on
it.
the bottom was bigger than the other 2.
The one in the middle has like human-sized bite marks taken out of it, but the other 2 are fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's like a nesting area and stuff up there and that, and I can post pictures of this too later to go along with this, or I can try and put them on this video so that you can see what I'm talking about. But yeah, it was weird. Like I'll show you the pictures later and stuff too. But yeah, we didn't cover a lot. I mean, like I said, we were there for about a month on different events and stuff like that, and each day we have
Something new.
at least 7 hours of video, audio, pictures. I mean, a lot of data to go through, and I was trying to get this whole episode down into about an hour, so we did cut a lot of stuff out of it. When you see something happen, we tried to make it the most, this is what happened, but still leaving enough supporting data that it wasn't just clip after clip after clip. You know, I wanted to show more of the surrounding what was going on, or I tried to, but yeah, we're not, there's a lot of pictures of the rock stacks in there and stuff by the burial mound and that, and I wouldn't put any money on it being paranormal or Bigfoot doing it or something, but the reason why we did show a lot of that stuff is because rock stacks have a lot of symbolism and stuff. I mean, supposedly Bigfoots do stack rocks. Bigfoots throw rocks. So it wouldn't be out of the question to see a Bigfoot make a rock stack, you know, or in the paranormal world and that too, where you have like spirits and stuff stack rocks. It's, you know, but we're investigating in an area that is right off the main trail, and a lot of human activity there. So I would not put money on it being a paranormal rock stack.
No.
But yeah, and that wasn't where we were looking at the shamanic forest and stuff. There was actually a smaller rock stack along the river by the troll bridge, and there was another one up by the fairy tree as well. So there was several rock stacks in this woods.
Yeah, where I put that little rock on top of that last rock stack, and I guess when we came back, it looked like it was knocked off, but we don't know if anybody bumped it or something just decided, like, nope.
It's also worth noting that rock stacking has become popular in the recent years with people on Instagram and photo sharing services where they can show off their talent of balance, basically. So it is a very common hobby at this time.
So, looking forward, I mean, like we said, what we still want to do, we're definitely going to go back down there. We're going to try and do another episode down the road here in the winter, fall probably, and get some different areas covered. The thermal imaging camera works a lot better when you have a clear shot. And with, a light snow on the ground or something too, would be a lot easier to track something and see, because this ground is so hard in areas that there's no way you can get. I mean, we went in there and we brought everything we could think of. My backpack includes an entire kit to make a plaster cast. And the footprints that we found up on the hill were just, that thin. There was no way I was going to get a cast out of it to try and make it. It wasn't worth it to go through the work. But, some of those other ones, like the dog footprints and stuff, you could get a nice, clear cast out of that. But that's not what we're really looking for, So, we can go back and see in the winter, snow, and we're going to go back in the fall again here and take a look at that and see what else we can find, different seasons. We're going to start right away in the morning and look at the entire place, do a walkthrough, and then do an investigation there, break into teams, go in, break for lunch, come back and do another night investigation as well while we're down there. The whole other side past the shamanic woods and stuff we can explore. There's a lot of alleys and stuff back in there that we haven't even dug into.
And that'll be a lot safer to do at winter too, because you'll just have so much more sightline.
And again, the blaze orange. If anybody's wondering why, when we went on the tour with Mary, we had our C.A.P.S shirts on, but any other time that we were in the woods on our own, we had blaze orange or some sort of reflective clothing on, so that this is public land. People shouldn't be in there hunting, but that doesn't mean they're not.
No, and especially late fall, that's coming up on deer season, which is when everyone's out in the woods.
Yep. And that's going to be, we did find a tree stand in there and stuff, so we know that people hunt in this area. If you take that rock stack, the day investigation towards the end of our episode, where we go back after we tribute the tobacco to this area, we had the 2 K2s, which are the black devices with the lights that go up and down. When we asked the entity to communicate with us, it affirmed, based on what we asked, that there was more than one entity there, and that the entity that was probably the strongest was the shaman, which is what Mary Sutherland had said was up in this area and stuff too. But an interesting thing to note on that is that the 2 K2 meters, the black ones, both register the same. However, the audio one, the orange and white one, doesn't go off at all, and that thing does not have as high a range as the black ones did.
Yeah, but it would have still gone off, wouldn't it? If something was communicating with us?
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
It could, but I don't know why it wouldn't do it unless they didn't have enough power to want to bring its energy towards that device only. Only just to those two, but not to that one. Unless we didn't ask, because we didn't ask for it to interact with that one. I think next time what we should do is put our K2 like this and that one in the middle, like you said, and then try to ask for just that one to interact as to the 2 K2s,
Correct.
and see what happens there. Because sometimes if you ask for one device, K2s could actually respond to both ways too, and that won't give you false readings. It'll give you some kind of weird reading that you can't explain.
At the beginning of that session, I believe that whole thing is on there as, explaining what we were asking of it. I asked the spirits or the entity, whatever was there, to make the lights light up. I never asked it to set off the other meter. So if we're going to take this as an actual interaction, we never asked it to set off that third meter. We asked it to play with the thing with the lights. So it's possible that if something was trying to communicate with us and was coming through like we think it was, that it's only interacting with the devices that we asked it to. You know, so
Next time we should ask her to interact with all three, not just two.
So, like we said, we're actually working on 3 other episodes right now that are in the process of. Our next episode right now is going to be a haunted attraction. So a haunted house in Wisconsin that actually had paranormal activity that we have, before we started C.A.P.S, me, Derek, and my mom had done investigations, and I actually owned it, or I own it, and we did investigations in the haunted house, and we have video and EVPs and stuff from that. So we're going to be putting out an episode with that, along with some firsthand interviews of some of my actors and stuff that worked there. Our next episode after that, we're actually already started filming, is on urban legends in Wisconsin. And the premise of this episode is going to be based on if these areas of urban legends have reoccurring legends where every time somebody goes there, they experience something. Could it be the same as these other areas of hotspot activity, that these urban legend locations have higher electromagnetic fields, have higher energy levels in general, whereas to why these things are manifesting there? Could it have something to do with ley lines, where these different areas land on certain spots of the state or whatever? So we're going to be looking into different urban legends like that. We have a couple interviews with people that talk about their experiences with it. So we're going to be doing stuff like that.
So are we going to try disproving things before we actually prove it?
We are going to go in there and we are going to look at that urban legend for whatever people claim that urban legend is. If they see a ghostly hitchhiker walking down the side of the road, we're going to drive down that road as much as possible and try and pick up a hitchhiker. You know, we're going to try and recreate the actual legend and prove or disprove the corresponding effects on it.
Okay.
So I won't get too much into that. You know, we'll have to watch the episode and see. But we are already filming in that. We've already done 5 locations, and so that's something that's coming up too. And then our 4th or 5th possible episode, we're going back down south, and we have a special guest star that we have coming on again. That's actually pretty famous that people will probably recognize. So I don't want to give too much away on that yet. We're still working on the date to meet up with them. So. But, you know, what all this does, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work and stuff. So, we're not here to beg for money. We're not here to ask you to support us or anything like that. We're doing this because we want to go out there and see what's out there. We're doing this out of our own research, and that everything that we've bought, you know, all of our equipment and stuff is what we got. When we started this a month ago, I had no intention of making a video series or a podcast or anything. We went to Burlington to see what was there because I had a personal interest in it, you know. And the first night that we were there and had activity, I started talking to some of my friends and you guys and that, and everyone was like, you know, well, I've always been interested in this. I want to get on board, and that's how this kind of happened. So. We've picked up equipment as we've gone along, and I personally want to apologize to you guys that are watching because I realized that a lot of the video that we shot was dark, or you couldn't really see too much of what was going on. It's because we don't have the equipment to show you that. We have a GoPro, and we have the thermal imaging camera and stuff like that, but we can't present you the show quality show yet. We did now pick up a night vision camera that shoots video and audio with infrared light, so it's a lot easier to see our cast and stuff that's out working on those, and we've looked at some of the video already and it looks a lot better. But we have one of those. So you know, if you guys appreciate what we're doing and you want to help us out, we have a Patreon. You can go on there and sponsor us, donate money. You can write to me at wisconsincaps@gmail.com. We're always looking for firsthand accounts, recent sightings, anything like that. And we're going to be posting more videos and some other pictures and stuff from this event and that like we've talked about here on our Facebook page going forward, which is C.A.P.S with Cryptids, Anomalies in the Paranormal Society. If you Google or if you search Wisconsin C.A.P.S on Facebook, that's our page. Our Patreon is patreon.com/Wisconsin C.A.P.S. And you can go on there, support us. We're going to be posting some videos on there as well that are only for the Patreon people that support us, and some pictures and stuff. We'll give you some heads up on previews of what's coming up, some sneak peeks and that of what we're working on and that. So if you like what you see, please feel free to help us out. We can only do so much on our own. You want to see better quality pictures and videos and stuff, that's how we're going to do it. So other than that, thanks for watching us. I would like to personally thank everyone that watched our series premiere tonight. We had 29 people watch it live, and for just starting this a month ago, I mean that's pretty impressive to have 29 people watching the premiere live on YouTube. So I thank you guys very much for watching that. Any final thoughts that you'd like down there?
None that I can think of besides, our premiere was impressive, especially when we haven't done any paid promotion, nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's all basically word of mouth and just organic.
Just specifically these woods, if you're going to go looking in there, you need to pay respect when you go in there, and you need to be cautious, because there's a lot of things going on in there. There's, a lot of different energies, and depending on what time of day you're in there, and, things change. So just be respectful of any woods that you go in, because it is alive.
Don't forget your offerings, like the M&Ms and glitter. Especially by the fairy tree and one tree guardian for the shaman circle, I think.
Yeah, right inside the shamanic side. Yeah, so that's our Burlington Haunted Woods season premiere roundtable. We plan on doing one of these after each of our episodes. We'll get together the group of people that worked on that episode with you. If you guys want to have like a live Q&A with us, we can work on that too. I think almost everyone here is open to that, and I know I speak for Michael when I put this out here that he really would have wanted to be here. He's actually on a family vacation with his family, so he's up north doing his own thing right now. But he couldn't be back here in time for this today. So, but he does appreciate this, and he's looking forward to doing more investigations with us, and so he'll be back. You'll see more Michael, and we also have Dave, who will be joining us. He is kind of along the lines of Ethan here. He's more outdoor woodsman. He's a hunter. He's I believe he was a Marine, and he did service and stuff like that. He's had several encounters with weird things, I guess. I mean, I've been hearing some of his stories. I'll let him go over that, I guess. But
I actually look forward to meeting him.
Mm-hmm, yep.
Same here.
And then Fathom is a spiritualist, and she will be joining us. She's working with us right now on the Urban Legends. She's on the first couple Urban Legends things that we've taped. And we have another investigation into a haunted location that Simon is working with us on. And Simon is more of a kind of spiritualist as well, investigator into that, the more of the spirit side of things instead of the cryptids. But so we have a few other investigators and stuff, and we'll see you later.